Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome everyone to our regularly scheduled meeting of the Wareham School Committee. We have an awful lot on the agenda, but I'm really happy to see all these bright faces and happy faces to be here with us this evening. So without further ado, we'd like to start the agenda, and we'd like to start with public participation. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the school committee at this time? Yes. Please identify yourself.
Jamie Redpan, Wee Wee Antic Shores.
Hi,
I always
Jamie.
wanted to do that. A group of teachers approached me and asked me to play the slideshow for them. I'm just here on their behalf, and I can't take credit for this.
Okay, very good.
I don't know anything about this.
I know you don't.
Do you?
Did you know about this?
No.
I didn't either. No.
Thank
you very much. It's very gratifying to see this kind of support. Thank you. Is there anyone else at this particular point in time that would like to address the school committee? Seeing none, we'll go right into the agenda. Good news. Dr. Schaefer-Hood.
Before I start the good news, I would just like to thank everyone, but truly, what you saw up there as the things that have
Miss Ware, can you talk into the microphone?
Sure. Next weekend, we are going to, on the 25th, we will be going up to Reading High School to perform in the NESBA competition there. And we'll be competing against 3 other bands in our division. So we wanted to share a little bit of our performance with you tonight. This is Somewhere Over the Rainbow from Wizard of Oz.
And that was our good news.
Very good, thank you.
But thank you for everything. And then, Mr. Palladino, you have the John and Abigail Adams under good news.
Thank you for coming.
Tough act to follow.
Thank you.
We'll do our best. But we do, before we bring up the John and Abigail Adams Scholars, I met with all of them again today, as I did last week. And unfortunately, with the All Cape College Day occurring today at Barnstable High School, quite a few of those students are student athletes and are actually either on the field, on the bus, or at the gymnasium at a volleyball match. And we did have a few that unfortunately couldn't get out of work. But we do have a good crowd today. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the John and Abigail Adams Scholarship, students have to score advanced and proficient in their grade 10 MCAS in the ELA and mathematics. And at least one of those scores must be advanced. And they must have a combined MCAS and ELA math test that places them in the top 25% for the district. So we're very excited to have 40 students recognized tonight as John and Abigail Adams Scholars. And in the end, if they go to a university, this could amount for almost $8,000 over their 4 years in college. So it's a significant amount and obviously a great savings for their family. So without further ado, I'm going to ask them to come up and stand on the risers here. Sydney Abel, Kimberly Barboza, Allison Bernique, Kelsey Berrialt, okay, Cecilia Briggy, Jeff Ciafello, Patricia Cooney, Austin DiGregorio, Garrett Fillion, Matthew Griggs, Corey Horonkowitz, Sydney Holbrook, Michaela Horman, Shannon Horta, Connor King, Allison Kingston, Michael Labonte, Kaylin Lockyer, Jillian McDonald, Karaman Manning, Teddy Matthews III, Michael McKierney, Caitlin Murphy, G. Allen Perry, Raylan Pina, Shauna Pyers, John Reardon III, Jesse Ruiz, Nicole Russo, who, as you all know, is at a volleyball match, also a school committee rep, Mia Sarkeesian, Timio Sequeira, and if I can, Timio is also a National Merit Scholar, our single National Merit Scholar for Wareham High School, Jamie Shapiro, Holly Ann Sproul, Ariel St. Germain, Madison St. Julian, Quinn Staley, Leah Stonis, Mary Tarraco, Andrew Turicker, and Jaden Verhagen. And those are our 40 Abigail Adams Scholars, and I want to congratulate them all. Great representatives to Wareham High School. If they could stay for just one more second, we want to get a picture, put it on the website.
That's a long picture.
Good. Thank you all. Congratulations. Thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Thank you for what you do. Okay, any other good news from the committee?
I have
Mrs. Vugan.
just an announcement. There will be a SPED presentation or SPED Parent Advisory Council meeting. It's going to be held on Tuesday, October 21st from 5:30 to 6 o'clock as pizza. So hopefully that will get our parents there and refreshments, and then 6 to 7 will be the presentation. So that's at the Wareham Middle School Library. So again, the SPED Parent Advisory Council meeting is on Tuesday, October 21st, 5:30 in the Wareham Middle School Library. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Vugan. Anyone else have any good news at this time? Well, I mean, I don't want to prolong the meeting, but if there are any skeptics out there about the quality of education at Wareham Public Schools, put your minds at rest, because we've got great kids and we've got great programs, and we're really, really doing a good job with always limited resources. So excellent education is alive and well in Wareham Public Schools. Mr. Sweat.
So I was recently informed that there is another way to give back to the Wareham School District. We have, we're all familiar with specialty plates on our cars, but it turns out the state has decided to create a specialty plate for school districts. And it is now possible to buy a specialty plate and have the benefits associated with buying that specialty plate come back to the Wareham School District. So here's my here's my application, here's my check, here's my envelope with a stamp on it, and here's applications for every member at this table.
Awesome.
Now, the only trick here is they said they're not going to do anything with this until they get the first 1,500 applications across the whole state. So I'd love to have a lot coming from Wareham, but in any event, I'll look for, and it'll take at least 6 months or so to get this going, but at least a year from now, look for a whole bunch of license plates that honor public education and public schools and that benefit Wareham.
Thank you, Mr. Sweat. Anyone else have any good news at this time?
We need to ask Nicole how her game went.
Hi, Nicole. Welcome.
Thank you.
How did we do?
We started off strong and
Accentuate the positive, right.
yeah. No, but we had a really great showing and we raised some money for breast cancer awareness, so that's great. It's all for a good cause.
Thank you, Nicole. Glad you could join us. Would you pass this down to Nicole? Thank you. Okay. All right, this particular time, I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes of October 1st. As
So-
presented.
So moved.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the minutes? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 500. Madam Superintendent, Global Education Team presentation.
Yes, I'd like to ask the Global Ed team to come forward, introduce themselves, and begin our presentation.
We do have a team, and I'm one of the team members. Unfortunately, we're a little bit limited for other reasons, but I do have, my name is Henry St. Julian, and Jessica, you want to say? Hi. Okay. Jessica Andrews. So my request, the Global Education Team is a team that is district-wide, and our goal is to try to educate students to global issues. And in the past, we've gone to Cape Verde, and we're requesting similar stuff, and I do have a presentation as well. Something that just came about that occurred, we Skype with kids from Cape Verde, and we're starting with Sweden, and we were talking to the Cape Verde kids school, and they said, hey, we would like to, we know that you're going to come, we know that you may be able to come in about 2 years to Cape Verde, but we would like to come. And so their request, or my first request on the very top says, approximately 7 students from Cape Verde request a visit to Wareham with 2 chaperone students will be placed in homes of a few homes of members from the GET team who will provide food, shelter, and transportation. So my first request is that that a school from Cape Verde, the Santa Cruz Secondary School, would be allowed to come and visit Wareham in this school year in March. So that's one aspect. I don't know if you want to talk about that before I talk about the other big one. Is there any discussion? Okay. So that's something that I quickly got permission from my principal, and he's all for it. I think it was a couple of seconds ago, but he's all for it. It's fresh off the press. All right. The second thing is just this is this right here is our little thing that we want to do. Oh, geez, this is different. Hold on. It should be right here. Yeah, it should be right on the first thing I see. It's a PowerPoint. I'm sorry. So the trip is not this spring, but in 2016. The global team members would like to go to Cape Verde, back to Cape Verde, approximately up to 5 adults, chaperones, and up to 10 Wareham high school students. Our motivation, thank you. Wow, that was quick. Our motivation, like always, is to encourage Wareham Public School students to be globally minded in order to prepare for them for the 21st century. Our trip goals, we want to try to make them global citizens. We're trying to build strong relationships with our schools, sister schools, 2 of them, San Felipe as well as Santa Cruz. And we want to also do ongoing assistance with the schools. So this right here is a quick presentation, just some of the stuff that we've done in the past. So who will go, and I'll mention that a little bit on the next slide, and why go to Africa, where will we go, and how we'll travel. Those are things I'm going to answer. But for what we'll see is building relationship with other schools, participate in school forums. We have a lot of Skyping going on between them, so we want to do some school forums there. We'll learn about the country and its people. So who will go? We have an active global team, in not only in the high school, but in the middle school. And what we're going to be looking is for members who are active and their community service. And so there's an application process, but anyone that is part of that can go, and we try to fundraise so that anyone that finance is never an issue. Oops. What was that? Okay. Why go Africa? We live in a global community. We learn from one another. This year, we're going to be doing a lot of global issues, talk about global issues, and then try to get various perspective, not only the Wareham perspective, but also the Cape Verdean perspective on Ebola. I think that's going to be one of our first things, environmental issues. And so we learn from them. We want to learn from them face to face as well. We want to learn different cultures, and this community has strong Cape Verdean ties, so we want to go there. Personally, I feel that an education is not over until children actually witnesses a third world nation, witnesses a nation that basically the majority of the world lives, and Cape Verde definitely fits that profile. So Cape Verde is off the coast of Africa, and what we want to do is go to 2 islands. The bulk this time, before we spent a long time in Santa Cruz, which is in this area right here, but the bulk this time is to be in San Felipe, which is over here. And we're going to be establishing more relationship with this school here. How do we travel? Air, jet. Between the 2 islands, we'll be doing these smaller planes. And of course, oh, Jessica, there is a picture of you, I'm sorry. We will be doing buses. And usually it's the city bus. So we have a relationship with the town. They're going to provide transportation for us. And that's what they did last time, and that's what we expect as well. Hotels, last time, they call it 5 stars, and it definitely looks like it. Electricity is, 50-50, but hey, it looks pretty good. Kids are gonna go to the volcano that's in Fogue, and it was an excellent time we had last time we went there. The kids enjoyed going into the mountain, and then also visiting primary schools as well as secondary schools here. This is in San Felipe. And then in Santiago, the Big Island, one of the things that I love taking the kids to is the fort overlooking the old capital and the slave trade. Cape Verde was a slaving port, and this was here a court where they actually sold slaves, so it's important for them to see that. And then visiting this primary schools, and again, this is our hotel we stayed last time. This is the Palm Beach Hotel, and visiting the school. The big thing that I like about this is different from trips, class vacation trips, because it's not about really visiting different sites. It's really about the kids, meeting other kids. And the last time we went, I think lives were changed as we can see our kids down here and around without black shirts. They took off their shirts. This is their Global Edge shirts, and they gave it to their African counterparts. And so anyone that's there with the black shirts, that's a gift. They hand them, said, this is what we love, and we love you guys. And they gave them their shirts. And I think a lot of Wareham kids' lives were changed, and I was very excited to see that. Of course, I went with my son, who's back here. I don't get to see him smile that much, so it's really good to have that picture there. So it's good. And this is my last slide. And I think what this last slide says, that we've done this before, and we're going to be prepared. So permission slips, permission from you is absolutely number one. Permissions from the visiting school, we always get a letter from them. Student application process. Make sure we have students that represent our school well. We want all the kids to follow the guidelines, regulations that we set apart. CDC is so important, so we always have updated materials. We want to make sure that we're clear with that. Visa from Cape Verde is mandatory. Something that was real helpful, and I want to make sure we do it again, is notification to the U.S. Embassy there, so we can get assistance from the U.S. government. Medical release form, travelers and medical insurance. If there's problems, if there's any major problems, we're on a plane and we're shipping them out immediately with that traveler's medical insurance. Parent permission slip, permission to search. We will be the parent and we will search bags if need be. Vaccination and medical needs. Every student that goes will be going to a trip so we can talk about culture. Sometimes we learn about language. Parents will we'll have a lot of parent meetings. But ultimately, all is set and ready to go. But if there's any kind of problems, we will stop. And I know there's, I hate to even mention this, but I know that people, when they think about Africa, they go, oh my goodness, there's disease going on. If anything, any whiff of that, that's going to stop. Right now, that's some of the conversation that we have with our counterparts. Where like say, is there anything going on? And they're like, no, there's nothing there right here. And so this is a concern from our side, and we would love to go. We would hate that something like this would stop it, but we want to start the process. I guess this is where we're asking for permission, is start the process and know that there are things that could possibly derail it, but we're asking your permission to do so. What I have is, I do have all these paperwork. If you want to see it, we'll be giving the kids. I can leave it with you. But what you have is a tentative schedule. 2 years from now, things will change, but that's what we have, and those are our requests. Questions?
Thank you, Mr. St. Julian. Questions from the committee? Or statements? Mr. Swett?
As usual, it sounds like a great trip, and with your past experience, I'm sure it's going to be extremely well organized and a great experience. The question I have is, what is the date, and maybe there isn't one based on insurance, what is the date of financial no return?
Well, there's two things. We go with the travel agent, which is in the back, and she was very flexible, but it usually is like maybe 4 or 5 months before. It's once you purchase the airline tickets. But this year, because what's going on in Africa, I have no problems of adding on insurance, travel insurance, which says, if there's anything that, if there's any kind of emergency, we can get our money back.
That's the only thing that bothers me, because we obviously share your concern that we don't want to put students at risk, but we also don't want to cause them to lose a whole lot of money too. So as long as it's clear when that point of no return is, or whether if they have insurance to cover it, if there has to be a cancellation, then I'm all for it.
And we'll make sure that happens.
Thank you.
We've been talking about that.
Thank you. Anyone else on the committee? Mrs. Vugan?
Just one. Thanks for the presentation. One of the things that whenever a request like this comes in front of the school committee, one of the things that I would love to see, and it's probably too early for this trip, but basically talking about what the output will be once the kids return. So what are the things that they're going to be doing? So not only is it a global education team, but they also can be global teachers for other students that haven't been able to go on this trip.
I'm so
and
glad
so
you asked.
whenever something like this is put together, I don't know if we might be able to put that part of the whole entire package so we can see what that output will be when they get back.
I'm so glad you asked. Well, one thing that we did last time we came here, first of all, to thank you, and the kids did come here. Then we had a celebration aspect where we talked to the entire community. I think we did it here.
Yes.
We did here. And then the students were required to go to each school. So it was the next year we went to every school except the cooperative, but we went Deacon's Minot Middle and the high school, and we shared their experience. So they're global ambassadors. So not only do they talk over there, but they also talk to our students. So it's definite. We want to make sure that they represent the school.
Great, and so I don't think that's always readily, that actually gets out there. So when we're putting together a white paper or something around the trip, putting that piece as part of it, so then it's part of the whole entire package that's being presented, I think would go a long way.
Yeah, right now it's a high school trip, but getting the other kids, younger kids, involved is huge. Specifically, a lot of the kids that went last time were in middle school in the global ed, and so they saw what was going on, and they said, we want to do this. So now when we come back, we went to Deacon's or Minot, they're seeing our kids up there, and I hope that implants, possibility that they could also go there. So. It's definitely we're coming from the ground up, so no one's brand new.
Anyone else on the committee? Mr. Flaherty?
Without checking, is this the week of April vacation?
Well, right now, that's my guess. From 21 years, I think this is normally the week that we have. But again, this is not solid. This is the steps going there. So we won't be purchasing until we know. And you do not make that decision till like spring of this spring, right? You don't make the decision for the April vacation until this spring, I
For
believe.
April, that's all set, isn't it?
Is it all set?
For the
Not
next
for
year.
the
For
following
next
year.
year, for the following year.
Gotcha. All right.
Okay.
And of the chaperones, typically, how many are teachers?
All of them last time, but this year, I mean, this next section, we're hoping to get the resource officer. I believe that he would like to go, and I believe there might be some other members of the community that will make sure that is proper, that knows language and can be translators as well.
All right. So if it wasn't during vacation, and let's say there were 3 teachers that were going, I mean, we have to find 3 substitutes, right?
Yeah, it'll definitely be during vacation.
All right. I'm always impressed whenever I see these presentations, and I'm happy that we do it. And I wish you luck. Well,
Thank you.
have a good time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, I'll just finish it up by saying thank you for what you do, Mr. St. Julian. And it's an experience, and it's a positive experience, and it not only puts pride in our community, but brings a little bit of America to the Cape Verde Islands and vice versa. And what it does is it celebrates our diverse community. And we're diverse in so many different ways, not just racially or ethnically, but we're diverse in so many different ways. So to celebrate that diversity is always a good thing. So again, thank you for your efforts, and have fun.
I will be coming back
Yep.
when we get some
That'll be
definite
great.
numbers and stuff like that. So you will see us again, hopefully with more the kids next time.
All right. Thank you, Henry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we need to vote on this?
Mr. Chair,
Well, I was going to, yeah.
Oh.
We have to approve the trip, basically. If there's no other discussion, I'll entertain a motion to approve the trip. Tentatively approve the trip,
so moved.
Second.
because we haven't got it pinned down as to when. So we'll approve the trip
There was 2 requests.
pending more information.
But there was 2 requests. The students coming here.
Yeah, oh, all right, okay, thank you. So let's do the trip first, going. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 500. Now, is there a motion to allow the students from Cape Verde to visit our school?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on that issue? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 500. Thank you again. Okay, at this particular time, we've got an acceptance of gifts. Madam Superintendent?
Yes, I'd be looking for a motion, $1,000 from Mr. Jeff Sweat for the Advanced Studies and Leadership Program for the Wareham Middle School students.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the generous gift from Mr. Sweat. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 500.
Abstain.
401.
Thank you
Thank you, Jeff.
very much.
A motion.
Madam Superintendent?
A motion to accept $400 from Shaw's Supermarket to the Wareham Middle School to support student clubs and after-school programs.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Abstain? 500. Madam Superintendent?
A motion to accept $283 from Target to the Wareham Middle School to support clubs and after-school programs.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? 500.
A motion for $500 from the Memorial Fund for the Melissa Drake toward a new sign at the John W. Deacus Elementary School.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? 500.
And a motion to accept $7,071 from the Memorial Fund for the Melissa Drake for technology for the students in the Wareham Public Schools.
So moved.
Second.
Do I have any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500. Does that conclude the gifts, Madam
Yes, it
Superintendent?
does.
Does.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I'd like to publicly thank all of the benefactors for being so generous, and particularly one of our school committee members. Thank you again, Mr. Sweat.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Quick question. Just, were any of these related to the one that you appeared before the selectmen for?
Yes,
That was the,
$500 and the $7,071.
all right, thank you. So that's coming directly to the schools?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Madam Superintendent, we have to vote on amendments to the agreement with the AFL-CIO.
Yes, I'd be looking for a vote to approve the amendment. This will address the changes due to the building closing at the Hammond, West, Everett, the bus garage, and the multi-service center. It also will add the multi-service center in a separate line item.
And this has been negotiated in good faith?
Yes, it has, and it's been accepted, waiting for your for the school committee's approval.
I'll entertain a motion and a second.
So move.
I have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? Mr. Flaherty?
Oh, no, I don't have a discussion.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. At this particular time, next on the agenda is the evaluation of the superintendent. This may be a little bit lengthy, so bear with us. Please feel free to get some water, because I know it's very warm in here. Water or coffee or whatever, that's there for everyone to use. It's not just exclusively for us. As you know, it is the charge of the school committee by statute to not only hire the superintendent, but to evaluate the superintendent on an annual basis. The evaluation process is very unique when it comes to superintendents of schools, in that it is mandated by law that the evaluation be done in public session, and in the presence of the superintendent. And just based on my own professional experience, it's not always an easy thing to sit back and listen to the critique. But I can honestly say that this has been an honest process, and that each member of the school committee has taken this obligation very, very seriously. Just to streamline the process, we had a new instrument, we had a training on the instrument, we had another meeting on the overall evaluation process, and I don't think there was anyone that didn't really know how to do it. So I think that based on what I saw, it was a very deliberate process on the part of every member on the school committee. The way it worked was each member got an evaluation sheet. They did the evaluation sheet, they turned in the evaluation sheet to me, and then I have prepared what we call a consolidated report, in taking the information that each individual member put on their evaluation sheets, along with some selected common threads that were extracted from the commentary as I went through the 5 forms. So at this particular time, I'd like to have each member give a short synopsis of their evaluation of the superintendent, and then I will do the consolidated evaluation for the school year 2013-2014. So would anyone like to begin? All right, I'll just pick somebody. All right. Mr. Flaherty, would you like to begin?
All right. There's a, I'm not going to get into a lot of detail. It's all public record, correct? I mean, this is for the public. The public can view the whole thing if they wish, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to get into a lot of detail. But I'll just read my little cover letter here. But before I do, I'll say this. I'll say that ever since joining the school committee, there's probably 2 times a year that I find really humbling, and that's the Teacher Appreciation Day and this superintendent evaluation, because I mean, I'm not an educator. I work with computers all day, but there's a reason. There's a reason why there's community, that the community is elected to the school board, because while I don't understand the finer points of, you know, what it takes to get a PhD in education, I do understand results. And with that, I'm going to just read my cover letter. Dear Dr. Shaver-Hood, it is with pleasure that I submit my evaluation of your performance for the 2013 to 2014 school year. When you interviewed before the Wareham School Committee for the position of superintendent, I asked you how long it would take to have our district achieve level 1 status with the state. Whereas the other two applicants for the position boasted that they could accomplish that task in their first year, you gave the more credible answer that it would take about 3 years. Importantly, however, you assured us that we would at least see progress in year 1. Year 1 has come and gone. In that time, the high school has retained its level 1 status, and the Deacons Elementary School decisively improved from level 3 to level 2. While we do need to pay close attention to some indicators that have slipped within the district, all things considered, I would consider this past year an overall success. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. And I'm not going to dwell on the details. I'm sure Dr. Sylvia covered it rather well, but I evaluated you as proficient, and in the areas where certainly you were exemplary in the community, and I went into detail on why. If I could have given you on a scale of 1 to 10, if I could have given you a 12, I would have. You just really beyond expectations there. And in the areas where I said you need improvement, it's nothing that you can't fix. It's just process. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flaherty. Mr. Lazarus?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make one statement first, and I will probably be publicly castigated on some blog for this, but I don't really care. We are required by law to make this evaluation a public event. The superintendent of schools is the only public official who is evaluated in this manner. Not the town manager, not the chief of police, not the director of parks and grounds, no one. Elected officials are evaluated by the voters at the polls. All other officials are evaluated either privately or just not rehired. I strongly disagree with this practice of public evaluation. It has nothing to do with transparency. It has everything to do with treating an employee correctly. That being said, without getting into specifics, I've had some difficulty with this evaluation for 3 reasons. The first and most obvious, that as the newest member of the board, I was not privy to its actions prior to April 1st. The second reason is that there were no goals submitted by the superintendent, thus impossible to match actions and results to them. I realize this was a decision of the committee. This evaluation is done with a lack of goals in mind. The third reason is the lack of evidence other than that available for Standard 3. This evidence was quite extensive and meets all the requirements for an exemplary rating for Standard 3. The superintendent went above and beyond during the campaign for the budget override, and I can't thank her enough for all of the effort that she put in with that, whether it was, and unfortunately it was unsuccessful. There were some areas that the superintendent demonstrated her leadership qualities. The settlement of the Unit A contract is one of those items. The superintendent should be commended for her management of a difficult budget situation. Her creativity, to wit, the early retirement incentive, should also be mentioned, and for that she should be commended. On the other hand, the issue of the privatization of custodial and food services was perceived to be handled in a heavy-handed manner. As I stated in my comments, there are issues with personnel. I feel that the superintendent's ratings for standards 1, 2, and 4 should be proficient, and for standard 3 should be exemplary. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lazarus. Mr. Sweat?
I share, after many years on the committee, I share some of my colleagues' feelings about the process. I completely respect the fact that the document that I and other members of the committee filled out as a part of the evaluation process should be public. But I have come to realize, and it just confirms my own personal experiences both as a recipient and as a giver of evaluations, that the best way to give an evaluation with another individual is to have a thoughtful, constructive dialogue in private, one-on-one. Therefore, the only thing I will say about this evaluation is that I believe the hiring of Dr. Shaverhood was one of the best decisions this committee made in a long time. I have seen the kind of courage, values, competency, and leadership that I think will prove to be extraordinarily valuable in achieving the goals that this committee, and more importantly, that Dr. Shaverhood has for this school district. And I thank Dr. Shaverhood for being here and part of the district.
Thank you, Mr. Sweat. Mrs. Vugan?
Thank you. When going through the evaluation process, I agree with some of my colleagues that, again, when you're doing something for the first time and trying to use a new instrument, that there are always, I think, bumps in the road. I think that this is a good first step in an evaluation that provides exactly what every person being evaluated wants, which is constructive criticism or constructive feedback or ways to improve. That's what an evaluation is all about, is to be able to provide meaningful recommendations on ways to improve and all work together to help with that improvement. So I'm looking forward to, before next year's evaluation, having this committee do some really hard work on the evaluation. This is the recommendation from DESE. That doesn't mean that we don't have an opportunity to make it our own. But at the end of the day, whatever decisions we make on the evaluation process, it has to be constructive, so then we're continuing to provide the right kind of feedback to the superintendent, so then we're not only improving the performance of our superintendent, but her administrators and overall the district in general. So with that, overall, I had many different comments. I tried to be as concise as possible when taking a look at each one of the subcategories and provided a positive or a constructive criticism in each. But the two that I just want to highlight, we all took a look at the work that her and her team have done around community engagement, around communication, and that is reflected in the evaluation as exemplary. So I want to just pull that piece out. But the other piece had to do with when it came to data-driven decision-making, that I think that is one of the first times since I've been on the school committee that I've seen. And to me, data-driven decision-making, along with other factors, but that's one of the ones that's so important to me, because you're basing your decisions on fact. So whether that has to do with changes within the districts, how to improve scores, how to or how to achieve better things around student achievement, and also hard financial decisions. What I have seen that come in front of this committee are decisions that are based not only looking at different factors within the district, but also they're backed up with real data. And so that's where one of the places that I wanted to point out in the evaluation that I was extremely pleased over this last year, because that piece of it has always been missing. It's no longer missing, and it helps us make decisions with real data behind it. Lastly, I'll just read my overall comments. I'm extremely pleased with what has been achieved over the last year under Dr. Shaverhood's leadership. The team she has assembled is poised to not only provide guidance and leadership to some of the best teachers in Massachusetts, but also provide the necessary vision to propel our district out of level 3 and give our students the tools they need to achieve academic excellence. I hope the community continues to embrace the superintendent, works together with our schools, teachers, parents, and students, and asks the question, how can I help make this one of the top performing districts in the Commonwealth? Constructive criticism and ideas are welcome, but I encourage everyone to get involved in some way and be part of the solution to some of the challenges we face in our district and community. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Bugan. My individual evaluation, I'm just going to break it down into standards. Standard 1, educational leadership, is the assessment of this evaluator that the superintendent has performed at a proficient level and the indicators provided on this standard. It must be noted by this evaluator, however, that as a school committee person, it is absolutely impossible for me to have direct knowledge on some of the indicators listed on the rubrics provided by the Department of Education. My overall ranking in this particular standard was proficient, and I recommended 8 points out of a total of, with the multiplier would be 100. Standard 2, management and operations. It is well documented that the superintendent cares about the safety and well-being of the students. She has integrity and is a collaborative leader. There have been instances, however, where more attention to protocol were needed relative to personnel matters. Overall, the superintendent has performed on this standard on a proficient basis, and I recommended 8 points. On standard 3, family and community engagement, Dr. Schaefer-Hood must be commended for this area. She is fully vested in Wareham and has worked diligently to create a positive relationship between Wareham Public Schools and the community at large. She is accessible, empathetic to the needs of the students and families. She is committed to the community and demonstrates a high level of community involvement. She has my highest rating of exemplary on this standard with 10 points recommended. On standard 4, professional culture, it is evident that Dr. Kimberly Schaefer-Hood is committed to establishing an atmosphere of high expectations for all stakeholders. Dr. Schaefer-Hood has demonstrated a respect for the cultural diversity of the community by establishing residence and by her high visibility and participation in the community. Other than several personnel issues, Dr. Schaefer-Hood has performed well in the personnel arena. She has modeled her dedication to continuous learning by finishing her doctoral studies while serving as our educational leader, and articulating her expectation to students and staff relative to the philosophy of lifelong learning. She has collaborative management style while not abdicating her role as CEO. I ranked Dr. Schaefer-Hood as proficient in this area and recommended 8 points. At this time, I would like to read for the record the consolidated report. Bear with me, this might take some time. The evaluation process. The evaluation of Dr. Schaefer-Hood's job performance rests with the Wareham School Committee. Members of the committee use a new evaluation form which models the evaluation prototype required by the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, DESE. The evaluation instrument contains 2 broad areas: attainment on agreed-upon annual goals and her job performance on standards of operation for superintendents established by DESE. It was voted by the school committee that the goals portion of the evaluation process not be considered in assessing the job performance of the superintendent for 2013-2014 because this was her first year as superintendent. It was voted that Dr. Schaefer-Hood only be evaluated on the standards portion, and that the point total be readjusted to allow for a maximum total of 100 points to be allotted on the operational standards. The following standards were evaluated. Standard 1, instructional leadership, indicators, curriculum, instruction, assessment, evaluation, data-informed decision-making. Standard 2, management and operations, indicators, environment, human resources management and development, scheduling and management information systems, law, ethics, politics, fiscal systems. Standard 3, family community engagement, indicators, engagement, shared responsibility, communication, family concerns. Standard 4, professional culture, indicators, commitment to high standards, cultural proficiency, communications, continuous learning, shared vision, managing conflict. Each standard had a maximum point value of 10 points assigned to it. A multiplier of 2.5 was used to produce a maximum total point value of 100 points. Each committee member was given a worksheet and rubrics with ratings of unsatisfactory, needs improvement, proficient, and exemplary. Each school committee member had the option to provide commentary on their individual forms. However, the protocol recommended that if an overall rating of exemplary or needs improvement was made on any standard, commentary be included on the individual rating sheets. Dr. Schaefer-Hood prepared a self-evaluation for each committee member and prepared a standards portfolio which could be used by individual committee members as evidence of standard achievement. Individual school committee members were to calculate points and make recommendations relative to an increase in the superintendent's salary at the conclusion of the evaluation process. Individual assessment reports were to be turned in to the committee chair to be used in the preparation of a consolidated report. A consolidated evaluation has been prepared, which will be the official job performance assessment of Dr. Schaefer-Hood and will be used in the determination of any salary adjustment. Commentary. Dr. Kimberly Schaefer-Hood has completed her first full year as superintendent for Wareham Public Schools. The commentary of individual school committee members on their evaluation forms and testimony from many other sources affirm that Dr. Schaefer-Hood is honest and a sensitive educational leader. Dr. Schaefer-Hood has accepted gratefully the daunting task of leading Wareham Public Schools through a time of uncertainty and also challenges and opportunities. She has maintained a positive working relationship with the school committee as well as other municipal boards and committees. Testimony from many sources speaks to Dr. Schaefer-Hood's commitment to the students and the Wareham community as a whole. Dr. Schaefer-Hood maintains an open, collaborative, and transparent philosophy in dealing with educational, personnel, and other community issues. She encourages a free exchange of ideas and supports the administrative team and other staff without abdicating her role as educational leader. She encourages staff to think outside the box and measures each initiative relative to quality, efficiency, and ultimately the best interest of our students. While not perfect in all areas of the evaluation criteria, Dr. Schaefer-Hood has performed proficiently in all major areas of the evaluation process. It is the conclusion of all committee members that Dr. Schaefer-Hood has performed at the highest level in all aspects of family and community involvement. It must be noted by this evaluator that being a superintendent in these times is demanding and difficult. Changes are happening very quickly, particularly in assessment and curriculum development and public finance. Circumstances require that the superintendent remain current, committed to professional development, and be collaborative in her leadership style. Dr. Schaefer-Hood has demonstrated these qualities in performing her duties as superintendent of Wareham Public Schools. Where they may have been some bumps along the way in decisions made relative to budget, personnel, and facilities management, it is the shared opinion that Dr. Schaefer-Hood acted in what she believed to be in the best interest of the students, family, and the community as a whole. Dr. Schaefer-Hood remains approachable, accessible, empathetic, and respectful to the stakeholders of Wareham Public Schools. Assessment on standards. The following section is a consolidated evaluation of Dr. Kimberly Schaefer-Hood's job performance on established standards and includes a summary of common themes extracted from the commentary from each school committee member relative to each standard. Standard 1, instructional leadership. Dr. Schaefer-Hood received a proficient average rating in this area. There were several areas in this standard that received consensus from the committee. The STEAM Academy, the 8th grade dual enrollment, and the specialization of the elementary schools were some of the superintendent's major accomplishments. Committee members made inferences that the superintendent is committed to providing quality teaching and learning programs. The development and utilization of common assessments and other assessment practices remains incomplete and a work in progress. Artifacts presented in the portfolio could have been more specific to the standards. Several comments were made concerning the rubrics provided. It was pointed out that it is difficult for committee members to have direct knowledge of the elements included on the rubrics. Comments were made relative to the new people as members of the administrative team. One committee member wrote, quote, "It is too early to know whether the change in management attitude will produce the desired outcomes in positive educational environment," unquote. Standard 2, management and operations. Dr. Schaefer-Hood received a proficient average rating in this area. There was, however, a deviation of the ratings by individual school committee members. Several comments were made relative to budget preparation and maintenance. In addition, issues around line item discussions at the school committee level were identified. One member wrote, quote, "The current budget is a compromise and does not fully meet the vision and mission of the district," unquote. There have been several instances where the budget decisions created problems relative to personnel and compliance. There were positive comments relative to the superintendent's commitment to health and to students' health and safety. One member wrote, quote, "Human resources management and development has been performed with courage, decisiveness, and a clear sense of impact to the key positions on the ability to achieve goals. This process is not complete, but I believe it has started with a great determination and insight, the benefits of which will become increasingly evident in the years to come," close quotes. Standard 3, family and community engagement. Dr. Schaefer-Hood received an exemplary rating from every member of the committee. Dr. Schaefer-Hood must be commended in this area. She is fully vested in Wareham and has worked diligently to create a positive relationship between Wareham Public Schools and the community at large. She is accessible and empathetic to the needs of students and families. She is committed to the community and demonstrates a high level of community involvement. She celebrates the accomplishments and activities of our students. One member wrote, quote, "You hit the ground running by participating in meetings even before your official start date. When you did officially start, you did everything you possibly could to be accessible," close quotes. Standard 4, professional culture. Dr. Schaefer-Hood received a proficient average rating with several areas of deviation. There was a general consensus that Dr. Kimberly Schaefer-Hood is committed to establishing an atmosphere of high expectations for all stakeholders. Dr. Schaefer-Hood has demonstrated respect for the cultural diversity of the community by establishing residence and by her high visibility participation in community affairs and activities. Under her leadership, the district does a good job of communicating and providing programs that help connect people. There were several issues noted on individual commentary centered around personnel and communications. Several school committee members stated that Dr. Schaefer-Hood has a collaborative management style and will not abdicate her role as CEO. Recommendations. Based on the evaluations of each individual school committee member of the overall job performance of the superintendent, the following summary of the evaluation of Dr. Kimberly Schaefer-Hood for the school year 2013-2014 is presented. Using a multiplier of 2.5, Dr. Schaefer-Hood's average point total was 85. Based on the recommendations of individual school committee members for a salary increase, the mean was 2%. I am therefore recommending that a motion be made to give Dr. Schaefer-Hood a 2% increase salary for the school year 2014-2015, retroactive to the beginning of the year in compliance with her contract with the Wareham School Committee. This report is respectively submitted by Clifford W. Sylvia, Doctor of Education, Chairman, Wareham School Committee, October 15th, 2014. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion at this time. Any motion. Mr. Lazarus.
I would move that we increase Dr. Schaefer-Hood's salary by 1%. And if I may make a statement as to why I say
Well, let's get a second.
I'm sorry?
Let's get a second.
Let's get a second.
Is there a second? There is no second. I'm sorry, Mr. Lazarus.
You can still make a statement though, right?
Yeah, I think he can. I think that would be appropriate. Go ahead, no. Statement.
Well, if there's no second to the motion, it's kind of,
Well,
Second.
thank you.
second, all right.
With all due respect to the recommendations from Dr. Sylvia, I have a philosophical problem with giving a raise that is higher than the raises on a percentage basis that we've given to other administrators and to our general staff. And I certainly understand the difference between real dollars and percentages. And I understand that 1% of this salary is, in real dollars, substantially less than 1% of the level of salaries to our Unit A members. But as I say, I have a philosophical problem with giving raises higher than what we have given to our rank and file members. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lazarus. I have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any other discussion? Mr. Flaherty.
I seconded it because I felt if I didn't, then it would only go higher. You know, it would be the 2% or the 3%. And I'm basically just going to reiterate my objection for tying our hands to giving any percentage for a proficient, for something that's expected to be done. And it's got nothing to do with the superintendent at this point. It's really an objection to the vote that was taken at that time. When you consider that cafeteria workers were looking to be outsourced, custodians were looking to be outsourced. We lost 34 positions this year due to the structural deficit, you know, that the town has, that we all know. There's no light at the end of the tunnel for the next 5 years. I don't think we have any business giving anyone any money. I'm sorry, but my hands are tied, because to give a fair evaluation, I had to give proficient, and the minimum is 1%. And so that's why I went with it.
Is there any other discussion on the motion? Mr. Sweat.
I will admit that my experience has been in private enterprise, specifically healthcare, almost exclusively. But I have come to believe without equivocation that when you sacrifice quality at the top, and you do so by not making sure that they are compensated and rewarded for their efforts appropriately, you pay a huge price, and that price is paid by every employee who is subject to the leadership of that individual. It is true that the town is struggling with resources, but it is also true that great leadership can do wonderful things with limited resources. Not once during the budget problems that this town faced, and will, as my colleague indicates, continue to face, but not once in the past year did I ever hear our superintendent say, well, we can't do that because of financial resources. There was always a positive attitude, a, quote, can-do attitude about educational goals, what we can do for students, and the overall student-centric philosophy of this superintendent and now this district. Educators at all levels, and let's keep in mind that when DESE put this document together for evaluation, it was a document that is fundamentally similar from a superintendent all the way down to the classroom teacher. Educators throughout the Commonwealth, and for that matter, throughout this country, are rewarded in three ways. They are rewarded for increased education. Nobody required that Dr. Shaverhood achieve her doctorate as a part of coming to Wareham. She did. They're also rewarded based on experience. The 1 year of experience, which probably to Dr. Shaverhood felt like a decade, that she now has in Wareham is extremely valuable. And it's valuable to us and to the community. And that is something that educators, whether they're in the classroom or in the superintendent's office, have been traditionally been rewarded for, i.e., positive experience because it's valuable in achieving their goals, once again, whether it's in the classroom or in the superintendent's office. And finally, to the extent that it's possible, we have across-the-board increases which are negotiated by school committees across the country, and certainly within this Commonwealth, and very recently within this district. By my calculation, the recommendation of our chair at 2% means that in many respects, our superintendent will slide slightly backwards compared to other educators in the community. That's okay. It's not great because, frankly, our educators in this community are underpaid. Our classroom teachers are some of the lowest paid in the South Coast, and that's unfortunate. But fundamentally, we need to send a message to our superintendent that we really value her contribution and not ask her to pay a price for the strain that we currently have in our financial resources. I would like to give classroom teachers and our superintendent more than our classroom teachers got and that the chair is recommending. I don't think we can afford to, but I also don't think we can afford to do less. Oh, yeah, I'm done. Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, I just to clarify, my recommendation. When we were discussing the range for proficient, I don't know how many school committee meetings ago, I was the one that suggested a range of 0 to, I think it was 2 or 3, I don't remember exactly, but it started with 0. The committee voted not to accept that recommendation, and they voted to extend for proficient a deviation of 1% to 3%. There was a place on the form for them to make their on their individual forms for them to make their recommendation on what they felt was a fair pay raise. They all did. What I did, simply as the chair, was to add up those numbers and divide by 5. And it came out to a mean average of 2. And that's why I recommended 2. So we, as a committee, set the ground rules. We set the ground rules. Now, I didn't get my way, but I'm going to respect the process. And the process said that the superintendent's entitled to 1 to 3. The mean average, when all 5 forms came in, was 2. That is the reason for my recommendation. Thank you. Anything more to be said on the subject? Mr. Flaherty.
With all due respect, Dr. Sylvia, you said you didn't get your way, but you did vote for the 1%
Yes.
Minimum, correct?
Yeah, so what?
Just for the record.
So what? Did I not recommend 0 to 3?
Initially.
All right.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Okay.
I don't need to be corrected.
I
I know
know.
what I'm talking about. I'm not senile yet. Anything else to be said on this subject? All those in favor of a 1% pay raise, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No.
Opposed.
Opposed.
Or
Aye.
The motion fails. Do I have another motion?
I make a motion to accept the chair's recommendation of a 2% raise for Dr. Shaver-Hood based on the combined scores of the evaluation.
I have a second. Any further discussion on this motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
3, 2, 0. Could I bother someone to make a motion on the consolidated report to accept it as presented?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the consolidated report as presented. All those, any discussion?
Right there.
All those in
No,
favor?
no, discussion.
Yes, Jeff.
This isn't in any way gratuitous. I want to compliment the chair on a diligent and what I thought was an extremely fair and effective process. We have work to be done on the tool, but you did what you could with the tool that you had.
Thank you.
I concur.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
I'd like to add to that. I mean, this whole report, I didn't expect that. That was impressive.
Thank you. Thank you. I do appreciate that, Mike. Any other discussion? All right, so all those in favor of accepting consolidated report, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? 500. I am glad that's over. At this particular time, we got school committee reports. Madam Superintendent, does anyone have a report? I know, do you, Mel? I know you had a meeting down at Cable.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Chair, the superintendent's report is
Okay.
first.
Oh, I missed it. Superintendent's report.
First of all, I would like to thank everyone for the time they spent on the evaluation. It was very thoughtful, and I certainly do appreciate the time and effort. And I look forward to my second year in Wareham. My report, our bus bid went out. Today it's on the web, and tomorrow it will be in the paper. The closing date for the bus bid to be turned in is November 3rd. October 28th, we have a workshop scheduled. That is on a Tuesday, and if you remember, the town meeting is on Monday. If it goes the second night, then we will not be able to have our meeting. Therefore, I would like to check to see if we could move it to the 29th, which is a Wednesday, for our workshop. Would that work for people?
I thought we already had that discussion.
The 29th, right?
The 29th.
Right.
I'll make it work.
I know the other one had a problem, right?
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
I'll make it work.
Can you
Did
just,
we already have
For the
that
workshop?
discussion?
Yeah.
Okay.
can you just send a meeting request?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any school committee reports at this time?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Sweat?
just a reminder, it's the 21st, right, Michelle? Just a reminder, there will be the first meeting of the Policy Review Committee in room 228 of the Multi-Service Center on Tuesday, the 21st.
Okay. Mr. Lazarus?
I have nothing to report. You know, I go down to Osterville and they serve us a nice little lunch and / dinner, and we hear all the goings-on of the Cape Cod Collaborative, and I understand we have 7 students that are involved in that this year.
That's up.
7 students,
Wow,
yes.
that's great. Thank you.
And we vote on all of their money issues, and I took the little course. And I have a certificate to prove that it's okay for me to
Did
sit
you
on
pass?
that board.
Did you pass? You got a
Well,
certificate?
here it is, right here. It says I passed, yes.
Okay, very good.
know what
Thank
that
you.
is?
Not a clue.
You know, I want to thank
Yeah, what is that?
Mr. Lazarus.
code.
He does have to go way down the Cape, and we are a member of the Cape Cod Collaborative, and it is a time commitment, and so I really want to, I really appreciate what he does, and, you know, we make jokes of it, but we do appreciate it, Mel. And Mr. Sweat did it for years, so he understands, and it is a commitment, and it's a time commitment, and sometimes those meetings are pretty long, so, anyway.
Too long.
I know,
But Jeff's not on anymore.
I know. Any other school committee reports at this time? Mr. Sweat?
I probably should have mentioned this under good news, but I wanted to thank the superintendent and the elementary school principals. Actually, no, it was just mine at Forest, because that's where the 3rd and 4th graders are. But the New Bedford Symphony visited our 3rd and 4th graders and put on a wonderful show related to finding contrast in music and language and writing, and I thought they did an extremely nice job, and I was glad to see that coming to Wareham again this year.
Thank you. Okay, any other business at this time?
If I may.
Yes, Mr. Lazarus.
Thank you, sir. In the October 5th Globe South, I was quite dismayed to see this little snapshot at the bottom of this page, where we in Wareham were one of 3 schools in the South Coast with the lowest pay scales. We were beat out by Avon. and Holbrook is below us. But Situate, Brockton, and Westwood, and Brockton in particular, substantially higher. And this goes to everything that I believe. We do not pay our teachers the way they should be paid, and for us to make this top 3 is not good news. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lazarus. That's very interesting. That was in what, the Globe South?
Boston Globe, October 5.
5? Yeah, it really is not something that we really should be proud of, because I know we're losing some good teachers, and we have to do something about it. Any other business at this time? Mr. Sweat.
It's not good news. But I will try to find some lemonade out of lemons. I think this committee would be remiss on not commenting on the recent tragedy that took place on our main street. I have talked to people who know these kids, because it's a tragedy for all 5, not just the one that was killed. And no one can really quite understand how it could happen. I want to say, and here's the lemonade, one of the things that I know Dr. Shaverhood and her management team are working on is the idea of an individual success plan for every child in this district. Somehow we need to give every child the kind of individual attention that will make them believe that they have a future, because kids that think they have a future don't do the sort of things that cause this tragedy to occur. And I compliment our management team for that direction, and I look forward to more details on how it would be implemented in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Sweat. Anyone else have any other business at this time? I have to apologize, I didn't bring the forms with me, but just a point of information, that registration for the NSBA conference has opened. If anyone is interested or wants some more information, I think Michelle's got some information on that. But I did get a thing on my email that it is open. I think it's in middle of March. I think it's a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I don't have the dates, but I think it's like, I don't know, 15th or something like that. So if anyone is interested, just see Michelle. Anything else to be said at this time? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.